Hi, here's Michael Leander. I'm here with Brian Coles, who is the Marketing Automation Manager at SimCorp. And we'll talk about marketing automation a little bit. Brian will give you some advice, some tips, and these are tips from a real expert who's been doing this for over 6 years, who has executed more than 3,000 successful campaigns. Well, most of them were successful anyway. But without further ado, let's hear what Brian has to say.
Hi, I'm Brian Coles. I'm a marketing automation specialist. I work at a company called SimCorp in Denmark. I'm not Danish, I'm English. I'm originally from London. 47 years old, 3 kids, no dog, and yeah. Good question. The biggest upside, I think, when you have marketing automation and email marketing really rocking for you, really working for you, is essentially you can make, if you've got a small marketing team, you can give the impression that you've got an enormous marketing team doing with an enormous presence, doing some great things with marketing. The company I work for example, we've got about 10 people in marketing in our headquarters, and the vision that we have is that we have many different email marketing journeys for many different types of people that come to our website, all receiving different types of messaging, social messages, and journeys and experience that will give us the impression, give the visitor the impression that we are in fact a larger organisation than we are. So we're talking about things like scalability. Marketing automation will allow you to scale better than if you didn't have marketing automation, for example. So again, if you got a marketing team with 10 people in, you might give the impression that you have 100 people in here because you're automating your marketing. So that, I think that's the biggest thing with marketing automation and email marketing when they're working together.
That's interesting, Brian. So, what about the challenges? What are the common challenges when people are facing when they want to see tangible results of their marketing automation investments?
Yeah, again, a very good question, and I wish it was asked a little bit more to people when they're looking at purchasing a marketing automation solution, because it's not just a tool. You don't just buy the tool and expect magic to happen. You've still got to do lots of thinking, proper thinking behind. Okay, how are we going to use this tool? There might be some cultural changes that you haven't considered as well, especially if you're coming from a traditional marketing model, and now you've got this new world of marketing automation, which does things in a slightly different way. A classic example for me is, if you're used to running campaigns, so you've had a lot of success with, let's just say, email campaigns, you might want to think about not doing so many of those campaigns and start thinking about how we can facilitate journeys instead, because your average email campaign will get a 3% click-through rate, for example, and that's great. A lot of resources and energy go into that, but when you do that, you kind of upset a lot of people. If you're only getting 3% engagement rate, there's 97% of the people that you're sending to that that are not engaging with your content. On the other hand, if you facilitate journeys and if you facilitate through marketing automation trigger-based email marketing, then of course you get a much better response, because you're sending an email to someone when they've done something on your site, that they've triggered an action from your marketing automation engine to then say, okay, you've interacted with this, we're going to send you more information about what you've just interacted with. Now, those are two very different disciplines: email campaign thinking and journey-based thinking. So if you're not set up for how you might want to facilitate journeys and all the thinking behind that, then that for me that's the big challenge, because it's also one of the things that a lot of the marketing automation vendors out there will sell you, to say you can facilitate journeys, you can get great engagement rates, but if you haven't done the thinking behind that, and if you're still stuck in the kind of batch and blast thinking when it comes to email marketing, then that's gonna generate some friction in your organisation, because you're gonna have to change many minds in order to make this, in order to convince people that this is where you want to put your resources into. So I think that's a typical challenge that I think people face.
Brian, you're a very experienced man in the email and marketing automation space. So give us some tips.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I've kind of struggled with and now kind of had some success with was talking about just simply just testing, because somebody can come to you in a marketing organisation and say, this is a great picture, or this is some wonderful content we need you to put into your campaigns, and then of course you might have your own opinion on that, and I sometimes come back to people and say, well, we've never tried this before, let's give it a go, let's test it, because that's the only way we're going to get the truth. So what I would say is, do not underestimate the power you can have with some good solid testing and testing methodologies. Come with your hypothesis as to why version A might be better than version B, or vice versa, and talk to the organisation about, we've got these two different ways of approaching this particular campaign, and we're going to test it, and this is why we're testing it, and this is what we're going to get out of testing, and this is what we're going to then put back into the next campaign, because we've generated some wisdom around testing this new element, or this new picture, or this new content, versus the old way of doing things. And I mean, that's just a very kind of top level kind of like, bit of advice on testing, but of course it goes much deeper than that. So I would say, yeah, don't underestimate how powerful your testing can be, and going back to the organisation and saying, this is what works, this is what doesn't work, and moving it from that, moving the pieces of your marketing through proper good testing, and yeah, that's it on that.
Thanks a lot, mate.
Cool.